There are some seriously huge quaking aspens. Look at that on this side of the road where the property is. There's a lot of them. It says there's a bit of water over there, and they are big, very plentiful, and very pretty. Look at those big trees. And this side of the property, yeah, well, that's going to be beating it in with the chainsaw, because that is, that's what they call shielded forest.
Hey, Kevin here, and we're out on a piece of property right now, and we're evaluating it to see if it's suitable for the purpose of the purchase that we want to make. We're looking for property. We've been actually watching property values for about a year or more, and just kind of getting a feel for what things are going for and what you can get for the dollar. And so we started looking at actually going out and evaluating properties in person. And one of the things you got to be careful of is realtors tend to showcase a piece of property in such a manner to make it look at its best point. And the only way to really find out for sure is to get out here on the property. So that's what we're doing today. We're out here doing our own evaluation. This property has only been on the market for 24 hours. And here's the thing, right now, because of COVID, property is really starting to move fast. And so you really have to get out here and get on these properties and get a look at them quickly if you want a chance at potentially making an offer on them, because there are a lot of people out. In fact, we looked, I bet a few weeks ago we were out looking at properties and they were still showing as listed, but when we went to go talk to the realtors, they had just put them under contract within days or even hours, even like in the last 24 to 48 hours from prior to our looking at them. So things are snapping right along, and the property values are kind of creeping up because they're speculating. And so what you got to do is get out here. We looked at properties, and it's very annoying and frustrating sometimes. You go out and look at a piece of property, and it's nothing like they depicted it. I actually looked at a piece recently that they tried to, it had a pond on it, and it was all these trees and all. And anyway, I got there. The pond was clear the heck down a hillside that you would need a goat to get down to. And the other pond was the problem. Right across the street was actually the septic plant for the little town just north of where we were standing. So you're literally looking across the street at a pond full of poop. They didn't tell you that. They don't want you to know that. It's silly for them not to tell you that, because that means a whole lot of people are going to look at it and go, what is this? I don't want this. So anyway, you got to pay attention. So if you want to learn more about what you need to do to find it, make sure you subscribe to our channel. Check out our Patreon, because we're going to be doing a lot more detail even on that platform than we're doing in this one. So like it so you can know when we got a new video coming up right away. But anyway, we're looking at this piece right now, and really the big things that we want to look for right now, obviously the lay of the land. Make sure we don't have some misrepresented piece of property. One of the things we worry about right off the bat in large tracts like this is water. We want to make sure we don't have flood or swampy zones or wetlands. And if we do, we can identify and evaluate, is that something we can work with, or maybe it's just a deal breaker. So you have to be careful of that. The other thing obviously is, what are our infrastructure development costs going to be on a given piece of property, because they vary greatly from piece to piece. And so you know, you might have some of the development already on the property. You may have some that it's very close, like at the front of the property line, or it may be a ways away, and you need to look at those costs. And so right now what we're doing is this a piece of property we can work with? Are we interested in it still now that we're out here on it? And then the big three are going to be water, power, and sewer. Those are your big development costs besides the house itself if you're going to build. But we also have to look at, you know, driveway approaches coming in. So we may have, you know, how much is our excavation cost just to get in off the road and open up a space and maybe, you know, build a place where we're going to be putting in our buildings, our house, our outbuildings and so forth. That can vary greatly. So you need to have an excavator company come out and help you evaluate that and give you an idea of what, you know, just a driveway coming in could cost money. You got to put gravel down, you got to scratch off the vegetation to get up in here. How far are you going to go in? You may find that you don't want to go way in there like you thought you did, because it's going to cost a lot more money the farther in you go. Every 100 feet of getting back into a piece of property, you're bringing the water in that far, you're bringing the power in that far, you're bringing the road bed in that far. Those all add up. And so you got to be careful of those costs and find out what it's going to take. So you want to get these people out that do this for a living and have them help you evaluate that. We're going to have to talk to a well driller, because wells are the only way we're going to get water out here. You need to identify who your power company is that services your area, and have a conversation with them. You're probably going to have permits, and depending on the county you're in and the municipality you're in, permitting, you know, for instance, we need a permit just to have a driveway approach. It's not a big deal, but it is a process. We have to have, if we want mail delivered out here, we need to talk to the post office, because they're going to dictate how they want the mailbox put in so that they can drive up and deliver mail. So we need to know that, and they have to come out and approve that. Anything you typically do to a piece of property, you're probably going to have a permit, unless you're way out in the Tules where they don't care. But that's probably not the case. So we need water permit to put in a well. We need a septic permit to put in a septic field. We need building permits to put in buildings. We need a driveway approach permit. So there's a lot of things that you need to talk to your planning department for your area that you're in. And then your utilities, have a conversation with them and find out some of these costs before you make an offer, because it may be, you know, reasonable. And I don't know what your budget is. Everybody's budget's different. I don't know if you're going to be carrying this out of your own pocket, or if you're getting a loan. And so those, when loans come into play, they want to know details before they make approvals and say we're going to give you money. So there's a fair amount of upfront, and then of course you want to be able to tie the property up if it's what you're wanting before somebody else comes along and makes an offer and gets it out from under you. So it can be kind of fast-paced at times, depending on the market. At this point, the market's pretty quick where we're at, so you know, we're missing opportunities if we drag our feet, and so we have to get right out here and get those. But we know what our evaluations are. We know what we need to find out, and we kind of start learning the area. For instance, for a well here, you're going to look at the existing. They're all registered wells, and so we look at all those well logs and find out how deep the average wells are here in the area and how much water they're producing, and that gives us an idea of what we can get on a piece of property too. So those are all things you have to take into consideration while you're evaluating, and then, you know, making sure you're good with making an offer on something. You don't want surprises. That's really what it boils down to. You got to be careful. Everybody has a budget, and so, you know, you miss one detail or not pay attention, and that's why you bring these guys in, because they know, they do it all the time, and they're going to hopefully, you know, warn you about some of the things or the potential problems or additional costs that may be involved in any particular piece of property. And that's going to help you kind of determine, you know, is that feasible for us to buy that piece of property and be able to finance, you know, building and setting up shop, if you will. So just some things to think about. We're going to be looking at this piece, decide whether this is the one or not, and then we'll let you know what happens.
Oh yeah.
There's some big ones like that all over the place in here.
You almost don't even want to take it out.
No.
Leave it alone.
This thing's huge.
Yeah. Come on through.
Good timber here.
There's some really good timber
I'd say
here.
at least a half a dozen of these like this. See that big one over there?
And my heart gets colder. Day by day I break away. I don't feel right in the daylight, spending all my nights on the dark side. Somebody help me find a way to get back home. To that's me. Somebody help me find a way.
These pretty trees. This is an old logging road that was put in probably 30 years ago. Looks like it might be a nice start to a driveway.
So we're deep in the secret project, so too early for details, but we're doing some feasibility and we're going to do some running around up in here today to see if this is the place we want to start our next project on. And it's going to be interesting climbing around in here because it's pretty thick. And so what we're trying to find out is kind of get a lay of the land in here and see how this topography lays out so that we can kind of see if there's a good spot to clear out for a building project. And so very excited right now because this is like it's a big project, and I think we're 80+% sure this is what we're going to do. So that's why we're here to kind of make the final decision on this before we take the plunge, if you will. And then once we do that, we'll give you more detail. But this is what you got to do when you're looking at property. I mean, you got to get in here and find out how it lays, and what your personal needs are and wants in a piece of property, and find out if it works out for you. So there's a lot of factors going on here. We'll get into that a little bit more, but I thought I'd just give you kind of a here we go.
Get back home.